I think that you learn from Miles, and you learn from people like him how to lead a band, and also how to listen to music in a certain way, and how to keep your ears open is very, very important. You know, that sometimes in the beginning it may not sound like it's right to you, but if you got to keep on listening and seeing if you find something in it. And Miles also taught me a lot about life too. You know, that life and music and art, it does all come together.
He's very serious about the music, and that comes through in everything he does.
I consider him a genius.
Well, collaborating with Jason is really fun. What he brings to the table is you know, a wealth of experience.
It's great because he has a big, vast knowledge of all sorts of music that translates very well for when he plays the keyboard.
Global Noise was a seed, and he created an entire project and toured, and he got all these brilliant collaborators.
He's very generous with the project. He wants to get the music out there and really always goes above and beyond, and not everybody does.
He's a professional. He comes in on budget, and it always is super high quality. There's no question that, you know, when you engage him to do something, you're going to get something of great quality, sonically and musically.
He's all over the place. He grew up as a jazzer in Brooklyn, one of a good friend of Bob Berg's. But I think he really found his niche, so to speak, with electronics.
Oh, he's a great keyboard player. He knows everything he needs to know to do the music that he does.
Mike first started playing Iwi, for instance. That a lot having to do with that was finding sounds, collecting sounds, and Jason was a master of having them and finding them, giving them to Mike, altering the way they sounded in his Iwi, so he was a big part of that development too.
He likes to listen to everything. He likes to be aware of what's happening, what happened before, what's the roots for the music that he's doing.
He is so good with technology and how he has embraced and brought it to the limelight of music that was happening then when he used to work with Luther Vandross and people like that. I mean, groundbreaking ideas and vision that Jason had clearly reflects in every project he's done.
Might have been one of the first times that I talked to him. I was at my brother's loft, and Mike had lost some sequences, so he immediately called Jason, and Jay came over and kind of helped him retrieve stuff. So he was in on the cutting edge of all that stuff.
If we look at Tutu, Marcus and Miles are the major part of that album. But then again, you know, I don't think if they hadn't had Jason Miles, we wouldn't have had the Tutu album that we got, you know, with his programming skills and what have you. And basically enabling Miles and indeed Marcus to bring their sort of thoughts and their concepts and really make them a reality through the soundscapes that Jason programmed and produced for them.
If you're going to do something with Miles, you have to do something that's like new, not only new, but that's so off the beaten path and off the other side that, you know, that nobody was ever going to understand. They would hear it in the music, but they would go, whoa, man, this is like crazy. And Miles realized that. And when we did Tutu, I really think that the key to it was actually Miles's performance on the song was extraordinary. Musically, what is it all about? He goes to me, it's about bringing Miles to play great melodies again.
Beverly Burns, I'm a jazz singer based in Yorkshire in the UK. Jason came on board and he came into the studio then, and the way he was just so supportive and nudged them, it was quite a powerful thing actually. And then Jazz just wants to have fun. He added a wonderful Hammond on 2 of the tracks, which he's just so insightful in hearing things, and some of it's quite subtle, but its subtleness is again quite powerful.
Jason is really unique in the way that he's almost become like a father figure. We started working together when I was really young, so he's really helped me develop my style, my sound, really listens to what I want, and a lot of people don't do that. They project what they want on other people. So he's really good at listening and helping me find my own path. He's the type of person he'll say how he feels, but it's because he cares, because he wants me to improve, he wants me to grow.
I've grown as an artist. So I recognize that in him, that as much as he drives people crazy because he's telling you stuff over and over, it's because he cares so much, and it's not even just about the music, but he needs to let you know where he's coming from. You have to remember that the music is one expression, but as a human being, that's the most important. So a human being, he tells you as a human being who he is. And that's important, man. We got to listen to each other as artists and as human beings.
Another thing about Jason, as far as vocalist is concerned, he has so much respect for the music. And if he works with you, that means he has respect for you. He's just so accommodating, and it's never about him. When you do something that he really likes, it makes you feel like, oh my God, I just hit a home run or something.
He's totally comfortable with every player that he brings on being at the top of their game, and he has no ego in that sense. He's great at bringing together like amazing players together into one stage, and he doesn't view that as some challenge to his ability.
I toured with him, so I have been in close proximity with him for so many days, 3 weeks, 4 weeks at a time, and we had a show every day. So we used to eat together, lunch, dinner, breakfast, gigging, sound checking, going in the bus, all of that. We've spent so much time with each other. I consider him my mentor.
I don't know too many people who can cast a project as well as he can. And to me, that's one of his big strengths, whether it's, putting one of his live shows together or, one of his tribute projects. He just knows who to call. He has a great rapport with a lot of, super talented people who are always happy to work with him. And that's not an easy thing to come by. All of us can play, all of us can do a lot of things, but when it comes to actually putting it all together, that's a whole other story.
First and foremost, just from a business standpoint, he was always just such a straight shooter and a person of his word, and just always treated everybody so well, whether it's financially or otherwise, which obviously is rarely the case. So I thought, wow, this is an interesting person.
He's very open to in his projects to work in so many different ways. He can work one day with the DJ, Logic like he did, and the next day he's doing a project with an acoustic guitar player or a harp player or whatever, and that's very interesting. I think that's life. Life is like this. Life is not one thing. Life is, every moment is a different thing happening, and music should be like that.
Jason is very passionate about the music. He takes it very seriously, and he's very engaged in it. He knows what's going on in the industry, but his passion for the music and his passion for a project that he commits to is what to me what stands out when I think of Jason. When we decide to do a project, or whether it was a tribute to Luther Vandross, tribute to Grover Washington, or in the last couple of years we did the Musical Weather Report, I knew as a presenter, that he had the passion and to make sure that it was done correctly and it would be a great show for the fans. And that's what it's all about. It has to be a good show for the fans. It can't be all about the music. Just can't be satisfying your own ego. You got to make sure it's accessible for the audience.
He can touch a lot of different types of people to go out of himself and reach different types of audiences, different types of feelings that people have. So it's important to touch as many people as possible, and he does that very well.
There's something called Mulligan Stew, which I remember was a TV show back when I was a child also. And the idea was that it was like all these different relevant things, all these different relevant ingredients that you put together to come up with sort of a one-of-a-kind sort of sound or taste or project or product. And to me, Jason is a lot like that. It's all like these very interesting components of influences and relationships and cause and effect that have been his career.
He's in touch with a modern groove, a modern rhythm that's happening in the world, and that's why his music is so appealing. One reason why it's so appealing, besides the fact that the songs are well constructed and well played, but it's he's doing something, and jazz musicians in general have done something that have resonated with the people around the world, and it's a joyous thing to be able to share it with them. It's just amazing.
I found myself through listening and studying and finding out who I was, which was hard.
Jay morphed into a guy that was like working on like $1 million budget albums, and anybody could have said like, hey, but no, he became an artist and he became a producer. I'm merely just by saying like, this is what I do now. And moving forward.
I don't want to put him in the category. He's a musician of the world, and it shows in his production.